This morning, we will try to visit this Republic Act 6713. This is, remember, this is subject under the new curriculum that talks about the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards. Okay? That is being applied for public officials and employees. So, ngayong umaga, ating tingnan itong batas na ito. No? Not only that, it is part of the subject, but since majority of my participants are in the government service, so I think we will revisit this law. Republic Act 6713. And I assume you are familiar with this because along the way we will be able to visit the requirements of the submission of SALN. Okay? Okay. Ulitin ko, many of you are enrolled in review and some are ETIAP as part ng ating subject. No? This is part of the subject in terms of looking into the ethical conduct or your performance, your acts. Okay. Sandali ah. Mm-hmm. Is it moving? My slides?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So,
Next na, sir. Next.
i-change ko muna. Tingnan ko. Stop ko muna. Tapos, I will try to share. Okay. It's here. Okay. When you talk of ethics, the one that you should look as somebody who started it all or considered to be the father of ethics is Socrates. Ito si Socrates ay isang philosopher at iniisip din niya kung marami siyang issues against the present public officials at that time. Kung matandaan ninyo ang ating history, di ba? Ay even in the Philippine side, bago pa tayo sa government, no? As somebody that is meaning a government that is new, is always met with a lot of challenges. However, since Socrates started, is an ancient Greek philosopher, na pag-usapan niya na yung good things, no, that will benefit our public or the government, your desire for happiness. Okay, so yun. So, because of that, naging malaki ang kanyang contribution on the ethical issues, which brings us to a definition that ethics as a moral principle that govern a person's behavior or or the conduct of an activity. It is also considered as the branch of knowledge that deals with moral principles or refers to a well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues, or guides us to tell the truth, keep our promises, or help someone in need. So kung usaping ethos or ethics, parang ang pinag-usapan natin na ano po ba ang tama, no? However, in governance, minsan nagkaroon ng issues because who determines who is right and who is wrong? Ang ating politiko ba? Ang mayor ba? Governor? Hindi. Kasi kung hayaan mo sila, wala tayong guide, wala tayong parameters, then it will always be what? Subject to his whims and caprices. No? So, yun, we need, for example, this law in order to govern our conduct, in order to do what, or ensure rather, that what government or public officials should do are correct or for the benefit of the government. So una, pagtanungin ka sa exam, sino ang considered father of ethics, your answer will be Socrates. Well, Plato is a student of Socrates. Okay. So then we go also, what is conduct? Di ba? Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng conduct? It is a manner in which a person behaves, especially on a particular occasion or in a particular context. Di ba? Minsan, example, yung inumbita ka, you're invited to a formal activity. And then, dumating ka, naka-short pants ka, o naka-bahag ka lang, no? Unless it's a cultural thing. No? So, magiging usapin na ang behavior mo ay hindi tama. So, basically, ang conduct is also the action or manner of managing an activity or organization. For example, di ba marami na you are not your conduct and becoming of an officer because of the expectations that as an officer, you should be upright, you should be courteous, you only do what is fair and just. Pag nakita nila na malatuba ka or what you are trying to lord it over unjustly, so then that is again an issue of conduct. In history, it is a mode or standard of personal behavior, especially as based on moral principles, questionable conduct. So, una, may kaibahan ba ang conduct of ethics? Well, usually, in a strict sense, ang conduct is the offshoot of your being ethical. So, ethics is the brain or the guiding principle. Then the conduct will be your output or your overt action. Okay? So, dito, itong batas na ito, ang Republic Act 6713, ang usapin nito ay ang public officials' responsibilities, obligations to his job, to himself. Diba? Minsan, mahirap natin ma-separate yung tao at sa kanyang posisyon. But basically, there should be a distinction. Okay? Doon sa usaping conduct sa mga politiko, no? Sinabi nga nila, sir, conduct of a public official occupies in the hierarchy is the expectation is high. So unlike on those in the private sector, diba? Okay. Now, in the code of conduct, of course, we are also governed by that principles like beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, or autonomy. These four things are also guiding principles or the code of in the code of conduct. So we'll discuss that later. No? We'll just go back to what is being prescribed by law. Okay. It is important to be reminded, especially if you are in government service, no? Or working for the government. Pwede kang private person or you belong to an agency like a security guard, pero you are working or outsource ka for government. So, pwede ka rin mag-govern dito. Ha? Okay. So, from that law, and also in the Constitution, mandating that public office is a public trust. Being a public trust, there are conditions that are required of you in order to make meaning to what we call public office is a public trust. So how can we, in a context, gain trust? So minsan ang tanong dito, ano ba ang mga conditions na magiging public trust siya? Dili trust. Di ba? So una, you're accountable. Accountability. Hindi account sa isipin ninyo accounts. Pag accounts na yun, sindikato na. So accountable to the people. You are accountable to the people. Simply means that your act will be measured on its impact or its effects on the people, on the people that you are governing. So ikaw, sample, public official ka or employee. Kasi wag lang ng mga mayor, governor kasi sa lahat ng na-meet ko ng mga governor, mayor, lahat sila. Sabi nila, honest sila eh. Wala akong na-meet mga kaibigan ko pa. Talagang honest daw sila. Hindi ko na maintindihan kung anong ibig sabihin ng honesty in this context. No? But accountability means you're responsible or you have to be answerable of your acts. Diba? So sama, just like public official, accountable ka eh. Kung nagpalpak ka, you will be answerable to our people, to the people that voted you into office. If you are a police officer, you are accountable, not to your superior officer only. You are accountable to the public, to the people that paid your salaries out of taxes. So yun ang other term for accountability is you're answerable. So kung tanong, magbigay siya ng illustrations, titingnan mo kung ito ba ay in relation to your work also. Okay. Then, in order that this office can also be trusted, utmost responsibility, competence, integrity, loyalty. So, biro mo, responsible ka na. Ang competence, by the way, one of the ways na you are competent is by training. Tama? I-train ka like, example na lang, basic. Hawak ng baril. So, pwede ka nang maging competent in handling firearms. Dahil pinag-aralan mo eh. Diba? Nag-aral ka ng kurso o isang course like kayo, ngayon. Many of you would like to earn criminology. The assumption is that once you earn the degree, you are competent. Pero ang competence can also be measured by your actual performance. Diba? That's why sabi, incompetent na tao ito eh. Ang ibig sabihin doon, either hindi niya alam ang trabaho niya or hindi niya alam kung anong dapat gawin. That is competency. Earning criminology via ETIAP, we are heavily relying on competency. Because just briefly, di ba, mag-aral ka. Nag-aral ako ng criminology. Gusto kong magiging pulis. Di ba? So, pinag-aralan ko ano ang batas, ano ang dapat gawin. Yun ay eventually will develop into what you call competence. So competence is something that is learned either attending schools or actual performance. Yung sa inyo, life learning experiences. Diba? Napunta ka, aral, nagtrabaho ka. O, yun, competence. Integrity, yun. Ano po ba ang sa tingin nyo ang ibig sabihin ng integrity? Di ba? What is in your own way of interpreting, ano po ba ang makita natin ng integrity as something that mo-feel tayo doon, mapunta tayo doon sa what you call public office as a public trust. So, like uh, uprightness or or being honest. Di ba? Biro mo, may ang mga integrity test, remember, some of you are in the service. Pag, like in one example, mayroong training, tapos gusto nila mag-integrity test sila. Bigyan ka ng instruction, okay, there's this apartment number 1, located somewhere in Pasay, this is the address. Tapos raid mo doon, mayroong drugs doon. Then pagkatapos, pero ako, the one who set that up, nag-iwan ako ng pira doon sa apartment. Say, alam ko, magkano nilagay ko doon. So sabihin na lang natin, mayroong mga 100,000 pesos plus the drug paraphernalia. So naglusob kayo doon, pununtahan ninyo. Tapos nag-inventory kayo. Then nag-inventory kayo, na-record yung drugs, na-record yung sinong mga tao doon. Pero yung 100,000, nawala na. Or kung hindi man nawala, naging 50,000 na lang. This, again, is a challenge to your integrity as a person. So, in other trainings, or even in the actual practice, there is what you call integrity test. So, kung integrity ang pag-usapan, ang ating pinag-usapan dito ay isang bagay, kung ikaw ba ay totoong tao, honest ka ba, di ba? In dealing with the public. Di ba? That's why integrity is something that is developed also through the years of practice. I cannot say my integrity is intact, but I'm doing reverse or opposite to what is required. Then, loyalty. Well, of course, loyalty, hindi naman loyalty na blind loyalty ang ibig sabihin dito. Loyal to your oath. Diba? You take an oath that you serve the best of your abilities, with honesty, with dedication, commitment, and loyal not to the person, but loyal to the government. Di ba, wag yung blind loyalty, ha? Okay. Act with patriotism. Act with patriotism and justice. Di ba, biro mo? Justice means something to some people, pero kung sabihin mo, ano po ba ang what is meant by patriotism? Di ba? Your love for country. Di ba? You die para sa bayan, para sa ating bandila. So yun. That is an example of patriotism. Diba? Attached ka sa ating government that you have to protect this government. Hindi pwedeng babuyin to ng ibang tao na yung public. Diba? Marami tayo, makikita mo ng posting minsan sa ating mga kapulisahanay ng ating kapulisan. Pag may challenge doon, kung i-question yung patriotic fervor, yun, maraming reaction. That's why, diba, we are even dying. We are committed our life to for you guys, no, for this country. So yun. Then lead a modest life. Oh, dito na. Well, as a public official, how do you live a modest life? How can you claim that you live a modest life when lahat, di ba? Nakasakay ka ng Lamborghini, di ba? You're boarding a Mercedes-Benz, and then you are a public official. Is that modest? Siguro sabi na, that's my modest life, mayaman ako. That is not correct argument because you are in public office. Di ba? Leading a modest life, or other term for that, simple life, because you are like to showcase to the public that you're not displaying ostentatiously wealth amidst the crisis that we are facing. So, leading a modest life. Diba, there was a time na ni-regulate na yon. Minsan nag-imbestiga sa iyo mga pulis, investigador, mga bulawan, mga jewelries dito, ngipin, may bulawan. Di ba? How can you live kind to present a modest life in that context? And another issue, which is also, of course, almost always being challenged, is how do you uphold public interest over personal interest? Yun, debate yun. Di ba? Ano po ba ang public interest? Ano po ba ang personal interest? Oh. Ikaw, you are in the police service or public official. What is your take? Di ba ang public interest is common good? Di ba? Dapat ikaw as a mayor should make sure that you serve the public at ang interest sa marami. Di ba? Hindi naman interest ng pamilya mo. Di ba? For example, you are talking of your family. That is personal interest. But if you are talking of the interest of the general public, whether they are attended to in terms of social justice, social security, they are attended in terms of hospitalization, part ng social security, yun ay public interest. Ang mga personal interest, paano mo mabigyan pira ang anak mo? Paano mo mabigyan ng pira yung nanay mo? That is personal interest. Di ba? O pinakain mo ba yung pamilya mo galing sa nakaw? Yun. Personal interest yun. Di ba? However, public interest demands higher level. So you're looking at the general welfare of the people. Diba? That is one. Diba yung minsan talagang, for example, yung namatay sa disaster, yung bagyong Karding, wherein Cabanatuan at the time, many of, or some of us, hindi na. Alam mo, doon ako sa Cabanatuan, sabihin, sir, postpone na natin ang ating kan. Kasi signal level number 5 na. Di ba? So now we are now weighing whether it's a personal interest in this context. Pwede ko rin, sige, hindi, klase tayo. Over what you call public interest. Kasi kung magklase ka, although there's interest also, pero kung malaalanganin naman ang lahat ng participants ko dahil magbaha, hindi na sila makauwi, magagalit na, okay lang magalit yung bossing nila, pero pag nagalit yung mga asawa nila, parang labaw pa na skarding. Diba? Diba? Labaw sa bagyo na. So, what I'm saying is, personal interest must not be over public interest. So, public interest over personal interest. Yung namatay, yung mga nag-rescue, di ba? Para sa interest ng iba, public. Tinaya niya yung buhay niya at siya'y namatay. Di ba? That's an example of upholding public interest over personal interest. Okay? So in that context, eventually, you will be able to present this line that public office being a public trust, or it is a public trust because the people running this office are accountable, responsible, competent, with integrity, loyal, act with patriotism, just, and living a modest life, and upholding public interest over personal interest. Thus, constitute an image that public office is a public trust. So now we go into the definitions, very, very important. You know, one of the things or the secrets of learning is if you meet or encounter or read a word or a term, it is best that you also come up with, check the definition. That is why, kung wala na may definition provided, then you come up with your what you call operational definition or functional operation definition for us to understand. So, madali. Like, sino ba ang covered ng batas na ito? Public officials. Public officials includes elective, yung halal ng bayan. Pinili, giboto, binoto ng mga bubong butante. Ayan, elective official yan. Diba? Na-extend pa itong mga barangay kapitan. Talagang laloko na ating bansa. No? So, di ba? Extended na naman. Yung iba dito sa barangay, iske, natiguan na lang. Hindi na iske. Nagkaapo na. Dahil sa extension, extend. So, yes, coffee. Okay. So, unappointed officials. Oh, elected or appointed. And employees. Oh. So, kayo, nasa government, di ba? Police ka, appointed ka. Oh. Kung private person like ako, di ba? Nasa private school ako. Hindi ako covered under this definition. Di ba? I am not a public official. That's why many of our trips abroad, di ba, kasama ko mga public official, ang nasiga yon. Ang mga humble pero mayaman din, mga kaibigan natin sa NBI. Mga humble yon. Simple na yung mga NBI. Pero mayaman din yon. ang gawa nila public servant. Di ba? Kung marami tayo, I do not know if I have in this Zoom yung ating mga kaibigan sa NBI. Di ba? Ano nila? Public servant. Di ba? Ako, if you have my card, ang lilagay ko, private servant. Because I am paid by a private company. Di ba? So, private servant. One time I was asked in Germany, oh, Dr. Haulian, what's the difference between a public servant and a private servant? I answered jokingly. I said, public servant robs public funds, steals public money. Me, I steal private funds. Tawa yung isang member of parliament in India. He was so amazed with my definition. Sabi niya, that's di ba, simply put, ang private funds. That's why magnakaw ako, pwede ako ma-charge ng estafa. Diba? Pero ikaw, kung elective official ka, ninakaw mo yung ayuda, public funds man yon, diba? Pwede kang kasuhan. So, employees, permanent or temporary. Diba? Kasi, diba, pag nag-training ka ng police, 1 year pa, in time, din maging permanent ka. Okay. Kung wala kang eligibility, temporary ka. Di ba join ka civil government? Oh, whether in career or non-career service. Yung mga career, example noon, yung mga CISO. Di ba? Yung eligibility sa civil service, then appointed to a position that requires this higher eligibility, yun mga career yon. Ang mga non-career, example doon, mga co-terminus, Di ba? Mga co-terminus, yun. Including military and police personnel. So, maliwanag ha? Nasama dito ang militar at ating hanay ng ating kapulisan. Whether or not they receive compensation regardless of the amount. Kasi many years ago, di ba, mabuti ngayon ang PO1 or patrolman, maabot na 39,000 ang sahod, ama. Noon, ang liit-liit ng pulis sahod. One time, tinanong siya, bakit gusto mo ba magpulis? Siya, I want to serve this government. I want to protect the people. Then sabi naman, alam mo ba na maliit lang ang sahod ng ating pulis? Nagulat siya. Sabi na, may sahod pala. akala na walang sahod. Di ba? So, di ba, maski maliit, pero ngayon, medyo, medyo, sabi nga ni Dr. Martinez, yung mga Marines ba yun? The few, the brave, di ba? The brave, the few, the proud, the Marines, di ba? Sa mga, sabi nga, kunti na, matapang pa, mayabang pa. Di ba? The few, the brave, and the proud. So, because of their mental, whether they are paid handsomely or not, ngayon, covered kayo. So, public officials. Now, question, sir, yan bang private person? Ma-covered ba siya? If he does something like attach siya ng government, diba? Sample, gwardiya ka sa airport. Airport is owned by the government, correct? So, although ibang nasa agency ka, private ang nagsahod mo, pero that agency is being paid from public funds. Therefore, technically, you will be considered as employee in this context because you are performing what you call government interest or functionality of functions of government. In that context, masali ka doon. Okay? Remember, kung anong, maski security ka lang sa isang agency, pero you are working inside a government facility, pwede kang covered by this law. Okay. So, brings us, by the way, at this point in time, mayroon akong mga kasama sa ITIAP natin, nagklase doon sa COC. But this is our meeting. This actually, ito for those also attending, taking the review sessions. No? John, or ating IT, pang kindly check the names of these people. Take the screenshot of those who are ITIAP attending as a make-up session. John Castro, you record that. Sino pa dito sa ating grupo?
Yes, sorry, sir.
Ang ating mga participants, tingnan ko ha.
Sige, sir. Morning, sir. Okay, makita naman yan.
Sa Lucina, what I'm saying is, we will check. No? I-check. Okay. So, I am now coming with the definition in accordance with this law. So, kung tanungin ka doon sa exam, Pedro elected as barangay captain of Barangay San Juan. So, covered siya. Dito, public official siya. Okay? Ronda Tanod is a barangay tanod appointed by the barangay. He will now be embraced under this. Di ba? Okay. Then brings us to itong ibig sabihin, ano bang gift? A gift refers to a thing or a right to dispose of gratuitously or any act or liberality in favor of another who accepts it and shall include a simulated sale or an ostensibly onerous disposition thereof. It shall not include an unsolicited gift of nominal or insignificant value, not given in anticipation. This is the operational word, no? Of or in exchange for a favor from public official or employee. For example, nagbigay ka ng Rolex na watch doon sa isang opisyal. Hindi ordinary gift yun. Diba? Ang price yan, malaki. Dahil ba binigyan mo siya? Dahil may kontrata ka? Or humihingi ka ng pabor? Gift yon. Or nagbinta ka ng lupa reportedly? Or nagbigay ka ng lupa pero ang amount or ang reason for donation is onerous? Or it appears to be simulated? Sample ng simulated sale ba na ang property worth 1 million. Tapos bininta ko lang sa iyo ng 10,000. Diba? Good, it's too good to be true. Hindi ka papaniwalaan, no? It becomes a simulated sale. Okay? This is also in consideration of something that you are getting. Di ba? Pero kung nagbigay ka ng Rolex watch ng asawa mo, wala yun because we're talking of public official. Di ba? Pero sir, yung public official na binigyan ng asawa, mayor yun. Pero kung asawa, there is no limit to one's love. Di ba? There is no price tag sa pag-ibig. Di ba? Pwedeng okay-okay yan. Pwedeng galing sa mamahalin na mall. Di ba? At the end of the day, love is immeasurable. There is no price tag. Okay. Okay, no? So dito, basta wag ka lang magbigay ng gift. Di ba, Mayor? Yung kutsi ko sa iyo na to. Oh, ano? Dahil magkaroon ka ng interest doon sa bagay sa kanyang office. Okay. Kung tatanggap ka rin ng gift na yon, lalong ibig sabihin doon, violation yun kung ang pagtanggap mo ay in exchange of something part ng work mo. Okay. It talks about also loans. Loan covers both simple loan or comodatum. Comodatum, pinahiram, parang pinagamit, usufruct. As well as guarantees, financing arrangement or accommodations intended to ensure its approval. Diba? Like, mautang kita para i-approve mo rin yung aking request, Governor, Mayor. Mayor, gamitin mo kotse ko. There's a public official who was dismissed because he was using the vehicle owned by a private contractor having contracts with his office. When he was charged, sabi niya, well, that's not my car. Oh, tama. But that's owned by a contractor doing business with your office. Kahit comodatum lang yon, use lang ginamit mo, pero you are doing exactly the opposite of what is required of you as a public official. In this context, that will be considered as part ng ating receiving gift or loan. Substantial stockholder means any person who owns directly or indirectly shares of stock sufficient to elect a director or a corporation. This term shall also apply to parties to a voting trust. Ang ibig sabihin, I am defining because pwedeng matanong doon na Pedro elected as mayor. of San Juan. Pero director pala siya o may-ari pala siya doon sa isang korporasyon na sa kanyang town or city in San Juan that conducts business with the city. So, titingnan yon. Substantial stockholder ba siya? O baka one vote lang, one stock lang? Di ba? So, titingnan yon. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng substantial. Then ano po ba ang family of public officials or employee? It means kasama dito ang asawa at mga anak na below 18 years of age. Anong ibig sabihin? Family yan ng public ni Mayor. So, kasama yung anak, basta 18 years below. Asawa. Ang mahirap niya ngayon, ang mahirapan dito, ang Mayor, asawa niya, Vice Mayor, lolo niya, congressman, ang anak niya, city kagawad. So, paano to? Medyo mahirap yung interlocking interest, di ba? Di ba? Uso sa atin bansa ang dynasty. So hirap, no? Hirap. How do we? So kasi ito, define ang family para malaman kung bakit si Mrs. siyang naghawak sa catering sa City Hall. Yun ang ibig sabihin. Why hindi ka mag-fit in definition? Pero paano kung si Mayor, ang asawa niya, yung Vice Mayor, public official, they are governed by our definition as public official. Di ba? So, gidefine muna natin. Sabi mo, family. So, kung ang ibig sabihin dito, kung kapatid ka, you are not part of the what is meant by family o public officials. You are covered under relatives. Di ba? Okay. Itong pangalawa, I'll discuss that conflict of interest. Ito. Magulo ito. Maraming issue ito. Arises when a public official or employee is a member of a board or an officer or substantial stockholder of a private corporation or owner or a substantial interest in a business and the interest of such corporation or business or his rights or duties therein may be opposed or directly or affected by the faithful performance of official duty. So, for example, nasa PNP Susya ka. Di ba? You are the head. Pero may-ari ka rin ng security agency. Conflict of interest yun. Ha? Di ba? Nasa Susya ka. Ikaw mag-approve sino security agency. Pero may-ari ka pa ng korporasyon or stockholders ka sa security agency ni John Castro. O conflict of interest. Yun. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng conflict of interest. Kung ang business mo is kailangan doon. For example, ang business mo is funeral parlor. Di ba? Tapos, sabi mo, nagpautot ka doon sa barema, libre ang embalming doon sa aking Haudian's funeral parlor. Conflict of interest yun. Di ba? Pero kung ang business ko construction, di ba? Okay? Dapat di ako mag-engage ng business in the office where I am the head or a member of the family is part of that office. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng conflict of interest. Ito, divestment. Inom muna ako ng kape kasi wala akong breakfast dahil sa sobra kong pagmahal sa inyo. Divestment is the transfer of title or disposal of interest in property by voluntarily, completely, and actually depriving or dispossessing oneself of his right or title in it in favor of a person or persons other than his spouse or relatives as defined. Dito relatives, kasama yung bilas, inso, balae, diba? Within the fourth civil degree. pwede. Di ba? Okay. So dito, kailangan, ang ibig sabihin dito, kung may negosyo ka, then public official ka, dapat i-divest mo iyan. Pero hindi mo ibig sabihin na, hindi naman ako may-ari diyan, asawa ko man, covered. Di ba? Kailangan either ibenta mo or i-surrender mo. Which I will discuss in some cases that I will be sharing with you. No? Meron akong nakabasa about in the SALN, which I will discuss. No? Sa mga investigador doon sa Department of Finance. Aking classmate sa law. At nag-iitiyap din yun sa Arroyo. Criminologist. Ito, di ba? Norms of conduct. Norms of conduct, di ba? I've defined what are public officials. Ito, norms naman. Ano ba ang dapat mong gawin? Commitment to public interest. Public interest over and above. Di ba? Well, I discussed that. Over and above personal interest. Government resources must be efficiently, effectively, honestly, and economically used to avoid wastage of public funds and revenues. Di ba? Marami tayong comment. Grabe si Mayor. Pumunta man sa yung ano ba yung bar Marciano? May bar ba dyan sa Lucena? Hindi ako na Jobert, may bar. Sa tagal ko nang ikot daan-daan dyan sa Lucena. Wala ako napasok na bar dyan. May bar ba dyan?
Sir, hindi
Marciano,
po
Jobert?
alam, sir. Meron siguro, sir. Pero sa Marinduque po ako, sir.
Oh. Sa Marinduque, may bar din.
Wala po, sir.
Talagang ayaw mo magpahuli, ha? Kahit hindi mo rin. Anyway, what I'm saying is, di ba? Gamit mo government vehicle. Pumasok ka doon sa bar, pumasok ka sa mga motel, mga sugo, mga Victoria, whatever na mga not, di ba? Not related to public service. Di ba? Yun ay violation ng batas. Is that honest economic? You're wasting government resources. Oh. Di ba? You are using personal on public funds or vehicle of government on personal interest. Di pwede. Ito, professionalism. Dito na tayo. Ang ni-require to, highest degree of excellence. Taas. Grabe kung nasa public official ka or police ka or employee, ang degree of excellence hindi lang ordinary, highest. Kung pinakataas. Di ba? Degree of intelligence skills with utmost devotion and dedication to duty. Oh, kung malatuba ka, duty ka, then exit ka. Yung iba dito, Zoom, 30 minutes, then nawala. Babalik, malapit na attendance, balik ulit. Ano ba? Saan ba ito? Ano ba? Di ba? Minsan, saan ba yung ating dedication? Okay. They shall endeavor to discourage wrong perceptions of their rules as dispensers or peddlers of undue patronage. Yun. Di ba minsan? Hindi pwedeng, pabor-pabor ni sir. Di ba? Public official. Di ba? Minsan sa mga mayor, ganun talaga. Mabata-bata system. Pero ang bata-bata system is the antidote of professionalism. Kasi ang professionalism, di ba, on the level, based on your training, based on your competence, di ba? Di ba? Based on your capabilities, that is example of being professional. Okay? Justness and sincerity shall remain true to the people at all times, act with justness and sincerity, and shall not discriminate against anyone, especially the poor and the underprivileged. Yun. kung tama lang ang ating gobyerno. Di ba? Dapat pulubi na nga siya. Wala pa siyang pira. Lalo na siyang dinidiin mo. Di ba? Refrain from doing acts contrary to law, good morals, good customs, public policy, public order, public safety, public interest. They shall not dispense or extend undue favors on account of their office to their relatives, except with respect to appointments of such relatives' position considered strictly confidential or as members of the personal staff whose terms are co-terminus with theirs. For example, ano ibig sabihin terminus? Pag nawala ka, wala din siya. Co-terminus yun. Di ba? Assuming tinuro kita, you are my private secretary of the office of the mayor. Pag wala na si mayor, wala ka na rin. Di ba? Yun ang mga co-terminus. Usually, mga ambassador, when they are appointed ambassador, dala nila ang staff, mga domestic help, mga parente, relatives, that is allowed. Kasi kung hindi naman, baka mapunta sa ibang bansa, nasunin sila. Di ba? Walang problema kung co-terminus, ha? So just sincere ka ba? May iba doon. Bigyan ng pagkain. Bigyan ng pagkain yan. Pero yung mga malapit na mapanis, di ba hindi ka sincere sa pagtulong? Di ba? Kunwari lang yun. Tulong mo. Di ba? Gusto mo, embrace ka diyan, pero wala ka palang feeling. Hindi sincere yun. Di ba? Di ba? Minsan may magsabi sa mo, I love you. Love you to. Hindi sincere. Even pagkasabi, walang hindi emphatic. Di ba? Love you to. So sincerity is something that must be accounted with action. Di ba? So kung nagbigay ka ng tulong na hindi mo siya short change. Bye. Tanggapin mo ito. Tulong ko ito. 20,000. 10,000 lang ibigay ko sa iyo, ha? Kasi yung 10,000 sa akin. Nakaw yun. Di ba? Hindi ka just. Hindi ka patas. Yun. Okay, these are norms of conduct. Di ba? Sabi nga natin sa conduct, ang code of conduct, beneficence, non-malignant beneficence, or autonomy, or justice, political neutrality. Dito, marami dito. Ang problema sa ating bansa, pag kandidato na si mayor, si governor, minsan yung mga ina-appoint, kakampanya todo, violation of the civil service law. Di ba? Ang magkakampanya, yung mga co-terminus, kasi pag mawala na si mayor, mawala din ako. So kampanya, iboto. Ang kalaban, nagnakaw yon. Sabi naman niya, hindi totoo yon. Siyang defender. Pero kung career position yon, hindi pwede. Violation ng civil service law and also under the norms of conduct under this law. Diba? Maliwanag, ha? Dapat ang nangyari, yun ang mahina kasi civil service natin. Minsan, I have been observing public office as a journalist. Nagiging, until now, I do still practice, no, as a journalist. Since 1980, some of you were not yet born. Diba? So alam ko minsan itong politiko nito, mabula ito. Kasi minsan masama ko eh. Mag-cover, pupunta doon sa isang barangay. Mayroong mga serious na, okay, sulat mo yung mga concerns nila. Diba? That is responsiveness to the public. Prompt, courteous, adequate service to the public. Provide information to their policies, clear procedures, openness of information, public consultations, hearings, avoid red tape. Di ba? Minsan, hindi mo alam. Yun pala, sir, kailangan makasapatos. In a municipality, ang town hall Di ka pwedeng magawa na makapasok dito, nakasapatos lang. Hindi, bawal yun. Because pag wala siya sapatos, makapaa siya, hindi na ngayon siya makapasok. Di ba? There are regulations, pwede, doon sa mga professional, like PRC, pag nag-process ka, kailangan naman formal. But that is professional regulation office. Pero kung barangay office, then magsabihin mo pa, kailangan na makapunta dito, nakapantalon, bawal. Yun, because you will be putting a barrier already. Paano kung hindi maka-afford? Wala na nga siyang pira. Ang pira niya pang short pants lang. Hindi na niya kaya yung long pants kasi malaki ang budget noon. While sa ukay-ukay, ang short pants nasa 15. Samantala, ang long pants nasa 50. Ang ma-afford niya 15. Ibawal mo pa siya magpasok sa barangay hall mo. Loko-loko ka. That is a conduct not permitted. Because you will be putting barriers already. Tapos kung may mga bago kang mga gusto mo mag-curfew, dapat may kampanya, may information drive. Effective October 15, mayroon na tayong curfew. Ito ang curfew, covered ng curfew. Mga bata, di ba? Ganon. Oh. Dapat doon mayroong public information. Part ng responsiveness. Conduct yun. Nationalism, patriotism, loyal at all times to the republic and to the people. Diba? Hindi pwedeng sabihin mo, okay, pagpunta ng NPA, mabuhay ang NPA. Pagpunta naman ng mga pulis, mabuhay ang pulis. Hindi mo intindihan. Ang mga butante mo, saan ba ito Saan ba ito si Mayor? Dito sa NPA. So, wala kang maliwanag na loyalty. Saan ka maluyan? Mabuhay ang China. Oh, saan ba ito? So, di ba? That's our issues of loyalty. Nationalism. Saan ba ang pagmamahal mo sa bayan? I remember the famous line of General Lona. Di ba? Saan? Bayan? Magpili ka. Bayan o sarili? Sabi yun ng iba, sarili. Di ba? Doon sa mga bubutante, wala yung bayan, sarili. Kasi natanggap pira eh. In one town, in Dapitan, ang vote buying doon, 15,000, 30,000 per voter. So tanungin ka, bayan o sarili? 10 kami, at 30,000, 300,000 ito, sarili. Diba? One time ako, nag-join sa politics, tuwid na daan kami. Talo kami sa tawid na sa 500. Tuwid na daan. Ang kalaban namin, 500. Doon ang mga tao sa 500. So, where is our love of country, love of public service? It is now becoming love of money. Yun ang hindi natin dapat itolerate. More so if you are a public official or employee. Your commitment to democracy, to the way of life, accountability, supremacy of civilian over the military. Di ba? These are norms of conduct. Simple living. Dapat yung position mo, is to ostentatious display of wealth. Like for example, ang mahal-mahal ng gasolina ngayon. Tapos, your mayor is boarding a V8 car that consume di ba? Lakas gasto ng gasolina na mahal pa, di ba? So yun. Yon ang ibig sabihin ng ostentatious display of wealth. Maraming nagutom, nga ikaw, marami ka pang ni-waste na mga pira, pagkain yun. That's an example of ostentatious display of wealth. Okay, duties of public officials or employees. Ito ay you have to act promptly on letters and requests within 15 working days. Respond to letters, telegrams, and other means of communications sent by the public and contain the action taken on the request. Kailangan pag nakatanggap ka ng sulat at itong sulat na ito concerns your office, you have 15 days working days. So hindi kasama natin yung Saturday and Sunday na mag-reply ka. Assuming yung sulat naman ay hindi under your jurisdiction, ibig sabihin na wala kang magawa doon because this is a concern under the Fire Bureau. Pwede mong i-forward sa Fire Bureau at the same time replyan mo yung tao na your concern is not under my office but the same is forwarded to the office concerned under the Bureau of Fire, blah blah blah. Hindi pwedeng hindi ka rin sumagot dahil hindi mo man concern yun. Pwede ka makasuhan dito. Okay? So kailangan tingnan ninyo yung number of days. Minsan ang tanong dito, how many days should the public official or employee maliwanag? Minsan ang tanong dito o ang tanong nakasentro sa number of days. How many days? You're given 15 days. Okay? Ito namang annual report. Required ito, especially sa mga barangay official or head of the unit. You are given 45 days from the end of the year to come up with your report. Yun ang performance report. And this shall be published, not necessarily in the newspaper, but by posting it in the bulletin of information or in conspicuous places in your barangay, in the case of barangay officials. Then, within 45 working days, you have to do that. No, within that 45 days, you submit that. Okay, from the end of the year. So, assuming matapos December 31, so you are given 45 days. So, January hanggang February 15 that you have to make your report. Ang iba dito yung tawag nila mga SONA, SOCA. Okay. Then, doon sa processing of documents, kailangan expeditious. Expeditiously, how? Kailangan, number one, require niya na dapat hindi more than 3 ang signatories. Tapos ang processing within the reasonable time. In the absence of duly authorized signatories, the next in rank or OIC shall sign for and on behalf of the person. Ang nangyari, di ba? Wala sir, nag-leave. So, kung one day lang siya nag-leave, yun, matolerable yun. Pero kung ilang days din siya nag-abroad, dapat you have to come up with somebody who will substitute that person, especially if such signature is needed. Like ako in the private practice, ako naman usually dahil I travel a lot. So mag-pre-sign ako doon sa mga request, like aking mga request din sa mga good moral, pipirma na ako para kahit wala ako, basta na-comply yung requirements ninyo, then my staff will make sure na ma-process yun. Then act immediately on the public's personal transaction, meaning expeditious. Dapat wag mong tulog-tulugan. Diba? Minsan, doon magre-reklamo. That's why kayo, meaning ako, diba? Hindi ko ako as a person like Ched, I cannot sometimes understand na matagal, no? So, ako lang, if I have my way, I will really complain. Diba? Pero siyempre, I have my boss. Ang boss ayaw makipag-away doon. Pero ako, either you approve or deny it. Deny it. So that I will go to the next act. Diba? Baka walang basis yung denial mo. So I can proceed and then what action, whether I'll accept your denial or appeal. Diba? Dapat ganun ang government. Sir, sorry, hindi talaga itong request mo denied kasi ganito yung limit ko. Para the person is also given the chance to appeal and avail of whatever legal remedies readily available on his side. Then make that document accessible to the public. Usually, ang tanong dito, for those of you taking the board exam, minsan tatanungin ka, what is the most way or to expeditiously process document? Is it not more than 10 signatories? Not more than 3 signatories? Or not more than 3 signatories? As much as practicable. Tapos tanungin ka, ang mga documents ba ito, kailangan ba accessible to the public? Yes, within reasonable working hours. Huwag ka naman maghingi ng dokumento mga 10 o'clock or 7 sa gabi. Dapat within reasonable hours. Kaya nga some of you, no, I'd like to inform you in advance. Minsan mag-request kayo, can we not just do it na mag-text kayo? Huwag naman yung gabi na. Kasi, di ba, you also give respect to the other receiver. Unless kilala, you have something to ask. Pero kung it has something to do with official document, di ba? Either you do it in the morning, but huwag naman yung masyadong gabi na. Di ba? Sir, this is the only time I have. Pero dapat, we have to what you call reasonable hours. No? So minsan, may magte-text minsan sa akin, no? Magre-request. Especially mag-take ng exam. Pero mga gabi na. Ay, nako. Sama, you can do it in the working hours naman. Okay? However, in the accessibility to this document, dapat i-post mo sa mga public areas, no? Ilagay yung mga notice, lagay mo doon. Itong mga ginagawa sa ating gobyerno, di ba? Minsan mayroong this is a project funded, number of days to be completed. Pero sa totoo naman, hindi naman nagawa, no? Hindi rin na sundan yung sinasabi natin na number of hours, di ba? If you notice, or rather number of days of completion, marami pa rin hindi nakatapos. Okay. Well, we talk about duties. We also have reward and incentives. So ang lahat ng mga opisyal, employee, ay pwedeng babigyan ng outstanding awards, no? Outstanding public officials and employee. This is composed of the Ombudsman with the Civil Service Commission as co-chair, Commission on Audit, and 2 government employees appointed by the President to conduct a periodic continuing review of performance of officials and employees in all departments and agencies. Di ba? Meaning, dapat, kung sa mayroon ka namang kakilala na dapat bigyan siya ng outstanding award as a public official because of his performance and exemplary performance, you may also nominate. Then establish a system of annual incentives, rewards to the end that due recognition is given to officials and employees of outstanding merit on the basis of standards set by this committee. So in short, there is an existing committee. So hindi lang tayo nakatutok sa mga violations. Marami ding mga there are other ways of giving recognition, di ba? Sa mga tao in the government offices. Dito na tayo sa prohibited acts. Most likely dito mga tanong Financial and material interest, directly or indirectly, that his office approves. Pecuniary man or proprietary interest by which a person will gain or lose something. Mayroon siyang kontrata, mayroon siyang papirma appointment. Yun, mga prohibition yun. Basta magkaroon siya ng tawag natin na kikita siya. O nalugi siya dahil doon sa act mo. Pwede ka niyang masunto. Outside employment and other activities. Own, control, manage, or accept employment as officer, employee, consultant, counsel, broker, agent, trustee, or nominee in any private enterprise regulated, supervised, or licensed by their office unless expressly allowed by law. To. For example, nasa government ka or police ka, consultant ka doon sa security agency, bawal yun. Bawal. Engage in the private practice of the profession unless authorized by the Constitution. Like lawyers, no? Or law, provided that such practice will not in conflict or tend to conflict with their official functions, which I'll discuss under the conflict of interest as well as in the SALIN, no? Recommend any person to any, recommend ka. Okay, ito, pwede ka bang tanggapin mo ba itong employee ko para yung tao ko, then i-approve ko din yung gusto mo. Di ba? Kailangan i-regulate yan. Kasi kung maliwanag na ang recommendation mo, may buntot yan doon sa public office mo, pwede ka rin makasuhan dito. Remember that this prohibition will continue to apply for a period of 1 year after your resignation, retirement, or separation from public office. What we are saying here, na from the time you retire, 1 year, hindi pwede. Hindi ka pwedeng after 1 year, o chief PNP ka, within 1 year, naging consultant ka kaagad doon sa isang security firm or nga tinayo mo, bawal yun, ha? So please, even kung ikaw mayroon kang ganun na interest, tapos kunwari nag-resign ka na, then you have to wait for the 1 year period. Meaning, hindi immediate na pag-alis mo, pwede ka na. So this, again, is governed by this law. Ilang taon? 1 year. 1 year. Also, ito, disclosure or misuse of confidential information shall not use or divulge confidential or classified information officially known to them by reason of their office and not made available to the public, either to further their private interest or give due advantage to anyone or to prejudice the public interest. Ang ibig sabihin dito, for example, you are head of NICA, you have some information that has something to do with a particular interest. Then disclose mo yun, even nung malis ka, bawal yun. Diba? Or you've received that information on the basis of your being a confidential agent and released it, yun, prohibited yun. Unless, of course, the release of such information is required in the Senate inquiry, of which you cannot also refuse. Solicitation and acceptance of gifts. Yun. Minsan may, minsan sa ating practice, no? Iba doon, no? Can you give us? Bago kang hipi. May bisita na kaibigan mo. Sabi naman ng kaibigan mo, Chief, parang init-init naman ng office mo. Bigyan kita ng air conditioner nito. Kung tutuusin, ito yung mga bawal. Ha? Di ba? Kaya ma-jeopardize yung interest mo doon. Especially yung nag-donate. May-ari pala ng mga entertainment places na mga illegal. Mga nightclubs or nag-operate ng waiting. Yon. Because maliwanag na yung pagbigay nila, may kapalit din yun na hindi masyadong interest, no, na pag-usapan, no? Pero maliwanag na ang pagbigay niya may kapalit yon. Ito, another requirements. Ito ang pinagdebatean, disclosure or sal-in. It shall be filed within 30 days after assumption of office. Assuming appointed ka today, you have 30 days to file your sal-in. If you are already working, you have to do that April 30. So ang tanong dito, 30 days from assumption. Kailan ka mag-file ng sal-in? Sal-in means statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth. You have 30 days from after assumption, and every on or before April 30, the following year or every year thereafter. So minsan ang tanong, kailan? So may mga on or before April 30. Ang ibig sabihin, you can file earlier, but that is on April 30, pwede. Now, paalis ka rin, kanina pinag-usapan natin yung you get out from the service, either by retirement or by separation, you are given 30 days to also submit your sal-in or disclosure. Disclosure is very important because there is, in one case, with filed by the finance, itong nangyari, no? Nag-work siya sa government, tapos may hindi niya na-disclose or nalagay na report sa sal-in niya. Dahil itong mga properties na iyan ay pag-aari ng kanyang husband. Remember, in the sal-in, pwede kayong isa lang or pwedeng separate. For example, diyan sa Cebu, si Branzuela, pwedeng mag-file siya, sarili, pwede din yung partner niya mag-file ng sal-in. Kasi in this case, in this City Treasurer of Pasay City, Concepcion Daplas, ang nangyari, namatay na yung husband niya, may mga ari-arian na hindi niya nailagay doon sa sal-in niya or failed to disclose that. But actually, in this case, the treasurer eventually resigned from the service. However, the Supreme Court ruled na kung ito naman, simple negligence, hindi naman, it did not cost, kasi ang decision doon is to be removed from the office. So eventually, the Supreme Court ruled na simple negligence ito, so pwedeng penalty lang ng deprivation of salary. Di ba? Pero hindi pwedeng cause for dismissal. Kasi she appealed the decision na sabi niya, na hindi pwedeng dismissal, it should only be suspension. Which the Supreme Court ruled na ang simple negligence, of course, mo fall under the violation, pero not dismissal from the service. It should only be suspension. Okay. So yung ulitin ko, no, pag you fail to submit your sal-in, kailangan ma-justify mo. Kasi kung masabi mo naman na you have deliberately did not file your sal-in, ang purpose is to violate what is required, di ba? By the law, doon pwede kang ma-dismiss. But in this case, simple sabi ng korte, inamin naman niya. Kaso hindi lang niya na pasok doon sa statements the following year. Tapos, yung other interest niya sa company, di ba? Nawala na rin yon dahil bininta naman niya sa mga anak niya. So, in this decision, it's very important that if the negligence is so deliberate in order not to follow the law, then pwede kang ma-dismiss. So ulitin ko, disclosure, 30 days after assumption, and on or before April 30 every year. And the other 30 days after separation from the service. Okay, there are penalties that are required, that are imposed depende sa gravity of the offense. 6 months salary or suspension of not exceeding 1 year or removal. So, sometimes pag na-remove ka, di ba? Sayang yung years of service mo. So, you have to appeal. Baka yung kamalian mo will not warrant also removal. Pwedeng suspension lang. So, remember that this law also imposes imprisonment of not exceeding 5 years or a fine not exceeding 5,000. So, itong not exceeding 5,000, maliwanag na pwede kang mag-apply kung na-convicted ka dito, pwede kang mag-apply ng provision because I read the law, it did not also disqualify you. Because minsan maglagay ng batas, even if sa batas nakalagay na hindi ka pwede mag-apply for provision. Pwede. In this case, wala naman. So, I'd like to remind you that most of the issues under this code are acts, no? So ulitin natin na kailangan mayroon kang the code of conduct. Number 1, you must have what you call beneficence. Of course, there is an IRR nito, which I also included in our presentation. IRR for this law. Saan ka ba? Ang tanong dito, saan mag-file ng SALIN in this case? Kung presidente ka sa Pilipinas, National Office of the Ombudsman or mga constitutional office. Mga senador, congressmen, di ba? File nila, declare of the Supreme Court. Judges, administrator, file their office, especially mga state universities, you file it with the office of the president. Okay. Regional and local officials, file it with the ombudsman or deputy ombudsman. Okay, sa armed forces, from the rank of colonel, naval captain, file it with the office of the president. And those below it, files it with the deputy ombudsman in the respective regions. All officials and employees with the Civil Service Commission. So, katong below under defined in Republic Act 3019. A copy of said statement shall also be filed with the respective departments, offices, or agencies. All statements of assets, statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, no? Yung sinasabi ko, shall be filed 30 days from the date of assumption of office, and the necessary authority in favor of Ombudsman to obtain from all the appropriate government agencies, including the Bureau of Internal Revenue, such documents as may show their assets, liabilities, net worth, and also their business interests and financial connection in previous years, including, if possible, the year when they first assumed any office in the government. Married couples who are both public officials and employees may file the required statements jointly or separately. I said that earlier. So pwede kayo mag kanya-kanya file, nagsalin. Okay? Of course, itong mga salin, pwede itong ma-access, but you have to write the ombudsman is in this case. What is the purpose? One time I did that as a journalist, so they give naman a copy of the salin of a particular congressman. Saglit, ha? Yung sa disclosure natin, kailangan ang kasali dito, including real property. Diba? Hindi pwedeng itago mo yon. Whether by inheritance or you buy it personally, that should be included in your disclosure, which can also be shown in your salin. Also, I said kanina, on the code of conduct, let's start with the 4, yung beneficence. Ang ibig sabihin ng beneficence, okay, so take note of these 4 codes, no? four principles in the code, no? Code of conduct. You have beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, and justice. In this concept, we need to understand that all these are designed for the purpose of ensuring that public service is delivered, no, with efficiency, promptness, and judiciousness. And this applies to all. This Republic Act 6713 applies to all. From the ordinary barangay kagawad to an employee, an ordinary barangay tanod, as long as he receives funding from public funds, then he shall be covered under this law. So ang tandaan ninyo, dito lang tayo mag-question sa mga number of days, di ba? Isipin ninyo the required, no? Ang pagsagot, kailangan within that number of days. Ilan? 15 days. Mag-file ng salin, 30 days after assumption or every April 30. Or you file it disclosure or salin also 30 days after you get out of public office. And the prohibited acts shall also be still valid even within 1 year after, or within 1 year after separation from the service. What I'm saying is, umalis ka doon, hindi pwedeng after 6 months nagiging may-ari ka na doon or consultant ka na doon sa mga korporasyon that does connection with your previous office, no? Or office previously held. And another, please take note also of the regulation like or prohibited acts like receiving gifts, no? Hindi pwede sir, birthday ko man yun binigay. Tama, kung binigyan ka lang ng cake. Pero kung binigyan ka naman ng kutsi o mamahalin na gamit, di ba? That will put into question the motive of the giver. At maliwanag yun na binigyan ka dahil sa posisyon mo. I'd like to put support, no? Kailangan matandaan ninyo na ang salin, lahat ng ari-arian mo, ha? Hindi lang, kahit ba acquired mo by inheritance, dapat i-declare mo din yon. The purpose of this is disclosure. Diba? Non-disclosure, pag deliberate, pwede ka makaswa. Pero kung hindi mo naman na-declare dahil na tulog ka at the time or hindi mo masabi na sa iyo ba yun o hindi. Di ba? So very clearly that the purpose or intention of this law is to make sure that your acts will not be jeopardized simply or will not also be attached to a particular company that has the same interest with that of your office. So, maliwanag na ito'y limitado na ang action mo. So, as a public official, hindi pwede kang magbili ka, mayaman ka kung anong bibilin mo. Pero kailangan doon, ilagay mo din sa salin mo or there is a public or disclosure para malaman natin kung yung ang mga hawak-hawak mo ay in conflict with the office. Di ba? Minsan ma-frustrate tayo dahil marami tayong kakilala, particularly public officials, na silang known publicly na may-ari. Pero kung i-declare naman niya, ang problema lang doon, yung doon siya nag-function, assuming mayroon siyang hotel, doon siya nag-conduct ng mga meetings ng mayor's office. Di ba? Maliwanag, conflict of interest yun. Di ba? Tayo, that's our weakness on the part of civil society or our checks and balances by government. Wala masyado tayong control over that. Okay? So anyway, those are salient features under this law. And I would like to welcome if you have some questions. Kung may tanong kayo, magtanong na kayo para kasi I just discussed this. I'd like to ask if you have some clarification. Please feel free to ask me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sige. Pwede
Yes,
kayo
sir.
magtanong muna. Naputol lang kasi itong isang linya ko. Nawala, nalubat na pala ako. Okay. So maliwanag ha? Ang batas na ito, Public Act 6713. At ito ay alang for public officials and employees. Just remember the number of days also as salient features of this law, which doon minsan ang mga tanong with respect to this law. Okay, saglit ha. Let me check kung may, well, ang nakita ko lang sa chat group, mga attendants. Anyway, some of this presentation is also posted in our website. Sige. Okay, John?